What if I told you that most people quit right before their biggest breakthrough? Not because they failed, but because they didn't recognize success when it was inches away. You've been there, pushing hard, grinding, but nothing's working. Doubt creeps in. Maybe this isn't for me, but here's the truth. The difference between those who make it and those who don't isn't talent or luck. It's one brutal skill, forcing yourself to keep going when every cell in your body screams to stop. Let's break down how. Why is it so hard to push through? Because your brain's wired to avoid pain. When progress slows, it feels like failure. When obstacles pile up, it feels like the universe is against you. But what if those obstacles are the path? What if the resistance you feel isn't a sign to quit, but a signal you're exactly where you need to be? The 48-hour rule. When a man meets with resistance, when his plans crumble, when his efforts seem wasted, when the world pushes back with all its might, his first impulse is to retreat, to surrender, to admit defeat and turn away from the struggle. This is the natural response of the untrained mind, for the mind fears hardship more than it desires success. But here lies the great error, the fatal mistake that has cost countless men their fortunes, their dreams, and their destinies. The moment of greatest despair is not the time for decision, it is the time for patience. When the walls close in, when the mind is clouded with doubt, when the heart pounds with the fear of failure, this is when a man must force himself to wait. Not a day, not a mere night of restless sleep, but a full 48 hours, 2 full cycles of the sun. In this space, something remarkable happens. The panic, which at first seemed an unshakable force, begins to weaken. The emotions that screamed for retreat grow quieter. The mind, once blurred by distress, begins to see with clarity. History is filled with men who quit too soon, men who stood at the threshold of victory but turned back because they could not endure the darkness before the dawn. They did not understand that success often comes disguised as failure, that the final test is not of skill but of endurance. The man who waits those 48 hours gives himself the rarest of gifts, the chance to see his situation with new eyes. Ask yourself, how many times have you regretted a decision made in haste? How many times have you later realized that what seemed like disaster was merely a temporary setback? The difference between those who achieve and those who do not is not intelligence, nor luck, nor even effort alone. It is the discipline to pause when every instinct demands action, to wait when every fiber of the being screams to flee. The next time you stand at the edge of surrender, remember this: the greatest victories are won, not in the first charge, but in the silent hours that follow defeat. Wait, breathe, let the storm pass, and then, only then, decide. The mirror test. There comes a time in every man's life when he must stand before a mirror and ask himself a question so piercing that few dare to face it honestly. The question is not of ability, nor of circumstance, nor even of fate. It is a question of truth. Am I running from discomfort or a real dead end? 9 times out of 10, the answer will shame him, for the obstacle he believes insurmountable is nothing more than fear wearing a mask, discomfort pretending to be impossibility. The mind, cunning in its self-preservation, will invent 1,000 reasons why a thing cannot be done. It will whisper of risks, of past failures, of the opinions of others. It will paint retreat as wisdom and persistence as foolishness. But the man who looks into the mirror and demands honesty will see the truth. That which he calls a dead end is merely a test, a trial of his resolve, a measure of his willingness to endure where others would turn back. The world is filled with those who mistake temporary hardship for permanent defeat. They abandon their ambitions at the first sign of struggle, believing themselves rational when in truth they are merely afraid. They call it prudence. They call it realism. But it is neither. It is surrender disguised as wisdom. The man who would achieve must first conquer his own illusions. He must strip away the excuses, the justifications, the comforting lies that protect him from effort. He must ask himself with brutal honesty, is this truly impossible, or does it only seem so because I have not yet found the way? The mirror does not lie. It reflects only what a man dares to see. And when he looks deeply enough, he will find that most barriers exist not in the world, but in his own mind. The path forward is almost always there, if he has the courage to take it. The next time you feel the urge to abandon your course, stand before the mirror, ask the question, and then act accordingly. The 1% lie. A man stands at the crossroads of decision, frozen by the weight of uncertainty. He believes he must know the end from the beginning, that he must see the entire path laid out before him, before he dares take the first step. He waits for perfect clarity, for absolute assurance, for a sign from the heavens that his course is correct, and so he waits, and waits, and while he waits, opportunity passes him by. This is the great deception that has stolen more dreams than failure ever could. The lie that a man must be certain before he acts. History does not remember the cautious. It does not honor those who demanded guarantees before they dared to move. The men who shaped the world did not have the luxury of certainty. They had only a flicker of belief, a mere 1% of clarity, and with it they moved forward. The other 99% was not knowledge, not foresight, not divine assurance. It was sheer unrelenting stubbornness. Consider the inventor toiling in obscurity, mocked by those who called his vision madness. Did he know his creation would change the world? No, he knew only that he must keep working. Think of the explorer setting sail into uncharted waters, his maps blank where the unknown began. Did he know what lay beyond the horizon? No, he knew only that he must keep sailing. Recall the pioneer carving a life from the wilderness, facing hunger, cold, and danger at every turn. Did he know his efforts would build a nation? No. He knew only that he must keep pushing forward. Certainty is the luxury of those who do nothing. The man who demands it will never begin, for life offers no guarantees. The path reveals itself only to those already walking it. The next time doubt whispers that you must know the end before you begin, remember this: the world was built by men who acted on the slimmest of hopes. They did not wait for permission. They did not demand proof. They took the 1% they had, and with relentless determination, they made it enough. Do not ask for certainty. Ask only for the courage to move forward without it. Invisible momentum. A man swings his pickaxe in the darkness, the sound of steel against stone echoing through the tunnel. Swing after swing, hour after hour, day after day. His arms ache, his hands blister, his back screams for rest, yet still he swings. Above him the earth gives no sign of yielding, no crack of light, no whisper of air, no hint that his labor brings him closer to freedom. To the outside observer, he is a fool, wasting his strength on a task with no visible result. But the man knows something the observer does not. Progress is not always seen. Every strike weakens the wall before him. Every blow, though it seems to change nothing, brings him nearer to his goal. The tunnel does not collapse in a single stroke. It surrenders only after countless unseen efforts, each one as necessary as the last. So it is with all great endeavors. The writer fills page after page, though his work is not yet a book. The merchant saves coin after coin, though his fortune is not yet made. The scholar studies night after night, though mastery still eludes him. To the untrained eye, nothing has changed. But beneath the surface, momentum builds. Each effort, no matter how small, is a deposit in the bank of achievement. And though the balance does not show itself immediately, the day comes when the weight of accumulated effort breaks through. Most men abandon their labor too soon, deceived by the silence of progress. They mistake the unseen for the known. They demand immediate proof that their work matters. And when it does not appear, they lay down their tools. But the wise man understands. The darkest hour is often the one just before dawn. The hardest strikes are those just before the wall gives way. Do not measure your progress by what you can see. Measure it by what you have done. Keep swinging. The light will come. The who else tactic. There comes a moment in every man's journey when the path becomes obscured by doubt, when the weight of struggle seems too heavy to bear, and when the mind whispers its most dangerous lie. No one has ever faced what you face. No one has ever endured this burden. You are alone. This deception has crushed more dreams than failure ever could. But history tells a different story. One of ordinary men who faced extraordinary trials and emerged victorious through sheer refusal to surrender. When you stand at the precipice of despair, there exists a question powerful enough to transform weakness into resolve. Who else has faced this? Search the annals of human achievement, and you will find your answer repeated endlessly. Consider the inventor toiling in obscurity, his ideas mocked as impossible, his failures mounting with each passing year. He had no guarantee of success, only an unshakable conviction that kept him working when others would have quit. Think of the explorer setting sail into uncharted waters, his maps blank beyond the horizon, his crew muttering of turning back. He had no certainty of what lay ahead, only the courage to continue when every instinct screamed retreat. Remember the soldier outnumbered 10 to 1, staring at certain defeat, yet finding some hidden reserve of will to fight on. These were not men of supernatural ability, but ordinary souls who chose perseverance when surrender would have been easier. Your struggle is not unique. Your obstacles are not insurmountable. This realization is not meant to diminish your challenge, but to illuminate your potential. For if another man has walked this path before you, if another human being has faced equal or greater adversity and found a way forward, then so can you. The proof stands etched in history, waiting for you to claim it as your own. When next you feel the weight of the world upon your shoulders, do not ask why me. Ask instead who else. Study their stories, understand their battles, see how they endured. Then ask yourself the only question that matters. If they could overcome, why not you? The answer will reveal itself in the fire of your determination. Rewriting pain. The human mind possesses a peculiar weakness. It mistakes the fires of transformation for the flames of destruction. What should be recognized as training is instead labeled suffering. What should be welcomed as growth is resisted as torment. This fundamental error has turned potential giants into broken men throughout history. But there exists a simple yet profound shift in perception that changes everything. The understanding that the same pressure which crushes weak men forges strong ones. The difference lies not in the challenge itself, but in how it is named and claimed. Consider the blacksmith's forge. The same fire that reduces wood to ash tempers steel into unbreakable strength. The same hammer blows that shatter brittle stone shape molten metal into tools of lasting power. The process appears identical to the untrained eye, yet produces diametrically opposed outcomes based on the material being worked. So too with human character. When life applies its pressures immense, when disappointment strikes, when failure accumulates, when obstacles multiply, most men crumble like dry clay beneath a hammer. But those who understand the nature of true strength welcome these trials as necessary steps in their development. The athlete does not curse the weight that builds his muscles. The scholar does not resent the book that strains his mind. The farmer does not weep over the soil that must be broken before yielding harvest. They recognize these apparent hardships for what they truly are, the essential ingredients of mastery. Your challenges are no different. The setbacks you face, the obstacles you encounter, the failures you endure, these are not punishments from an uncaring universe, but the very experiences required to forge you into someone capable of achieving what others cannot. When next you face difficulty, pause and rename it. What you call suffering, call instead training. What you label hardship, recognize as preparation. The fire that burns is not your enemy. It is the crucible in which your greater self is being formed. Remember always, you are not butter to be melted by life's heat, but steel waiting to be tempered. The question is not whether you will face the fire, but what the fire will make of you. Choose to emerge not diminished, but strengthened. Not broken, but forged into something far greater than you were before. This is the secret known to all who have achieved extraordinary things, that the path to greatness runs not around difficulty, but straight through it. The deadline trick. There comes a time in the life of every man and woman when the soul begins to ache under the weight of stagnation. The eyes search the horizon for a new dawn, and the heart cries out for liberation from the dull ache of repetition. In such an hour, a single idea, simple yet powerful, may lift the weary traveler from the dust of indecision and place him squarely on the road of progress. That idea is this: set a deadline not for others but for thyself. Say unto your own soul, If in 30 days hence nothing hath changed, I shall walk away. I shall abandon this burden which gives no return, and I shall seek new ground upon which to build my purpose. Speak it aloud. Carve it upon the tablet of your mind. For by the setting of such a line in the sand you awaken forces within you that have long lain dormant. You may ask, what purpose serves this imaginary line? What power lies in an arbitrary date? And I shall tell you, the mind once confronted with a point beyond which it shall no longer suffer the old begins at once to stir. No longer does it excuse idleness. No longer does it find comfort in the soft pillow of delay. No, it moves, it schemes, it devises, and where once was hesitation now is urgency. For man is not born to linger in the limbo of someday. He is born to decide, to act, and to shape the conditions of his own life. But he does not do so under the vague hope that things will get better. He moves when he draws a line and declares, thus far and no farther. He must create a boundary that frightens the lesser self into movement. When the spirit is burdened by discontent, when each morning brings no joy and each night no rest, the soul cries not for comfort but for clarity. The setting of a deadline offers that clarity. It draws the mist from the mind. It says there is an end. If the road does not change, I shall. And behold, the very declaration causes the road to shift beneath your feet. You shall notice in the days that follow such a vow that you speak with greater power. You look upon circumstances with new eyes. You confront things once tolerated and declare them intolerable. Your voice grows firm. Your energy, once scattered like dry leaves upon the wind, now gathers itself like a river behind a dam. And lo, that which once seemed immovable begins to yield. Others take notice of your resolve. They sense that you are no longer a reed to be bent but an oak to be reckoned with. Doors once closed begin to creak. Offers begin to appear. The heavens themselves appear to shift in your favor. Do not misunderstand, this is not magic but law. The law of the mind. The law of definiteness of purpose. The law of action. For as surely as the stars hold their place in the firmament, so does action follow decision and reward follow action. The man who walks forward with a deadline in his pocket is not a beggar hoping for mercy. He is a master preparing to act. If the harvest does not come by the set day, he does not wait for a miracle. He plows new ground. And this, my friend, is the secret. It is not the day itself that holds power. It is the resolve that fills your chest the moment you decide to stop waiting. Many never reach the end of their declared 30 days. Why? Because the world around them, feeling the pulse of their determination, bends to meet them before they depart. The boss who never listened begins to inquire. The partner who ignored now responds. The walls that would not budge begin to tremble. But even if they do not move, even if 30 days pass and not a single brick has shifted, then rejoice. For you are free. Free from the delusion that waiting will save you. Free from the lie that endurance alone is virtue. Free to begin again, this time with full command of your will. So I say unto you, set the deadline. Not to threaten others, but to awaken thyself. Set it not with anger, but with solemn resolve. For the soul once resolved is a power that neither man nor fate can resist. The antidote to overthinking, there is a malady of the modern mind, though it be no stranger to centuries past. It is not poverty, nor ignorance, nor even fear in its rawest form. It is the paralysis of thought without action. The soul that questions endlessly, that turns every stone but dares not step beyond the threshold, suffers a quiet death each day. Now hear this truth. As ancient as the pyramids, as firm as the hills, action is the only remedy to doubt. Not another thought, not another weighing of possibilities, not another night of tossing and turning beneath the burden of what if. Nay, only action. The man who walks even down the wrong road shall reach a lesson, but the man who stands still, who circles within his mind like a bird in a cage, shall gather nothing but dust and fatigue. We live in a world that worships thought, but thought, noble as it is, becomes a tyrant when not yoked to movement. For what is the purpose of thought if not to lead us to action? To think and not act is to sow and not reap. It is to build a bridge in the air and wonder why no one crosses it. You must move. You must take the step, however uncertain. For it is only in the doing that doubt begins to wither. A man cannot think his way into certainty. but he can walk himself into courage. With each footfall, a fog lifts. With each hand laid to the task, fear loses ground. Let me speak plainly. You will not always know what is right. You will falter. You will err. But even the error shall serve you better than inaction. For the hand that misses the mark grows more skilled. The eye that scans the wrong horizon learns to find the right one. But the soul that waits for perfect knowledge never learns at all. There is no fire that forges a man like the fire of endeavor. And you, dear listener, were not made to be a monument to hesitation. You were born to strive, to try, to fail, and to rise again. The great men of history, did they wait until every light turned green? No, they advanced while others debated. They fell while others hesitated, and they rose while others still wondered whether to begin. So shake off the chains of excessive contemplation. Let your thoughts become your servants, not your masters. Let them guide your hands to the plow, not bind them behind your back. Let doubt be burned away by the heat of action, not cooled by further delay. A ship cannot steer until it leaves the harbor, and you cannot shape your destiny until you move your feet. One small deed, one gesture of decision may unlock more doors than 1,000 well-crafted plans. Therefore I say move. Move not because you are certain, but because you are willing. Let the world meet a man in motion. Let fate find you forging ahead, not crouched in a corner of the mind. The universe does not answer thought alone. It answers boldness. It answers pursuit. Act and doubt shall die upon the road. The hidden cost of quitting. There is a price, dear friend, that few ever reckon with. A toll invisible to the eye, yet heavy upon the soul. It is not counted in coin, nor does it appear upon the ledgers of men, but it is real, more real than gold, more lasting than stone. That price is the hidden cost of quitting. Now listen closely, for I speak not merely of losing a goal, or failing to gain a prize. No, the greater cost lies elsewhere. When a man surrenders a worthy pursuit, when he lays down his tools and walks away from the hill he began to climb, something within him, something sacred is altered. A seed is planted, a voice is awakened, and that voice whispers, next time too you may walk away. You see, the act of quitting does not end at the task. It does not stay behind with the abandoned project or the unfulfilled ambition. No, it travels with you. It makes its dwelling in the hidden chambers of your mind. And there it waits. It waits until the next challenge rises. And when your hands begin to tremble, when your breath grows short, that voice stirs again and says, you have quit before. You may do so again. And that, my fellow seeker, is the true cost. For every time you turn from a trial, every time you flee before the finish, you do not simply lose the reward, you reinforce the idea that you are a man who does not endure, and the mind, ever faithful to the patterns it has learned, will remember. It will offer that escape again and again until it becomes your nature, but you were not made for retreat. The power that breathed life into your chest did not design you to be mastered by hardship. You were not called forth from the dust to shrink when the wind howls. You were fashioned for the climb, for the struggle, for the summit. And when you turn away from that which challenges you, when you choose the easier road, you cheat not only your future, but your very character. Let us speak plainly. There are those who speak of quitting as a virtue, who drape it in noble robes and call it self-care, letting go, or being realistic. And while there is wisdom in knowing when to redirect, when to alter one's course with reason and discernment, that is not the quitting I speak of. No, I speak of the kind of quitting that is born not of wisdom, but of weariness. That quitting which arises not from principle, but from pain. That turning back which comes in the dark hour when the heart is heavy, when progress is slow, and when the dream seems too far off to grasp. That, my friend, is the kind that wounds the soul, for what do we truly learn when we quit? We do not learn the strength of perseverance. We do not learn the wisdom of experience. We do not gain the satisfaction of endurance. Instead, we come away with a taste of regret, the bitterness of what might have been, and worse still, we create in our minds a precedent, a record that shall be called upon in the next hour of testing. But there is another way. There is a higher road, one which every man must take if he would become more than a shadow of his potential. That is the road of finishing, of staying with the thing you started, even when the fires burn low and the path seems endless. For let it be known there is no failure in falling, but only in refusing to rise. He who continues, who presses onward even when strength is scarce, is never a loser. Even if he does not gain the prize, he gains himself. He becomes the kind of man who does not flee, who does not yield to despair, who stands as a witness to his own resolve. And let me say this with all the weight of truth: if you press forward long enough, if you give your all without reservation, either the door shall open or another door shall appear. Either you shall win or you shall learn the way to win next time. But if you quit, you gain nothing. Nothing but the burden of wondering what might have been. There is no shame in the man who tries and fails, for he is still greater than the man who never tries at all. But the man who quits, he writes upon his heart a message of surrender, and unless he tears that message down through future victories, it shall remain there etched like stone. Would you like to know the difference between the man of success and the man of failure? It is not always talent, nor brilliance, nor inheritance. It is simply this: the man of success stayed when others left. He rose when others lay still. He endured when others grew tired of the pain. He refused to quit, not because he knew he would win, but because he knew who he would become if he walked away. So I implore you, when the hour grows late, and the wind rises against you, and your arms tremble from the weight, do not quit. Rest if you must, breathe if you must, but do not abandon the field, for the very act of standing, of enduring, is shaping you into the victor you are destined to be. And if you must choose between winning and learning, then choose to learn, but never choose to quit. For the path of quitters is littered with what could have been, books unwritten, journeys unmade, legacies unborn, and worse still, it is lined with men who have forgotten their own greatness. But your story need not end there. You may rise, you may press on, you may defy the voice that says, turn back, and instead whisper to yourself, not this time. And each time you do, you strengthen that inner muscle of perseverance. You become the man who cannot be shaken, the man who will finish what he has begun. And one day, yes, one glorious day, you shall look back upon the mountain you climbed, and though your hands may be scarred, your spirit shall be full. For you will know that you did not quit. You paid no such cost. You kept your crown. And that, my friend, is the true reward, the legacy mindset. There is a question, simple in its phrasing yet mighty in its power, that every man and woman must face, should they desire to rise above mediocrity and walk the path of greatness. It is not, what shall I earn, nor what shall I own? It is this: what story shall I tell 10 years hence? Let the weight of that question settle upon your soul. Let it echo through the chambers of your mind until all lesser questions fall away. For within that question lies the key to endurance, the fuel of perseverance, the force that separates the common man from the architect of legacy. You see, life will test you. That much is certain. There shall be days when the road is steep and your legs are weary. There shall be nights when doubt knocks at the door of your mind and whispers, perhaps you were not meant for this. You shall meet resistance, not once but many times. And in those moments it will be tempting to settle, to lower the standard, to excuse yourself with that ancient lie: at least I tried. Ah, but that is not the story the soul longs to tell. There is no triumph in I tried and gave up. No crown awaits the man who begins only to falter when the storm comes. The heart of man is not stirred by the tale of retreat. It is stirred by the tale of resolve, by the man who fought, who struggled, who bled if he must, but who prevailed. 10 years from now, when your hair is touched with time, when your hands bear the marks of labor and your gaze is seasoned with experience, what shall you speak of when you look back? Shall you say, I stopped when it became hard? Or shall you say, I stood when all others sat? I labored until the stones themselves made way. I fought until it worked. The choice is not made in some distant future. It is made today, in the quiet hour when no one is watching. It is made in the decision to rise one more time, to push forward when progress is unseen, to refuse defeat even when success is still far from reach. You must understand, the man who builds a legacy does not live for the pleasure of the moment. He lives for the testimony of time. He knows that the work he does today shall echo across years, that the effort he offers now will one day become the tale he tells his children, and they in turn to theirs. He does not ask what feels easy now, but rather what will I be proud to say when my days are full and the curtain draws near. For every deed writes a sentence in the book of your life, and though the ink may be invisible to the eye today, it shall one day be read aloud, and who shall read it? You shall, and those who follow after. And what will they read? A tale of surrender, or a chronicle of courage? You must become the kind of soul who looks 10 years forward and chooses now what that tale shall be. That is the legacy mindset. It is not about glory. It is not about applause. It is not even about victory alone. It is about being worthy, worthy of your breath, your strength, your calling. It is about forging a life that means something, that stands for something, that leaves behind more than dust. Do not say, if it is meant to be, it shall come. That is the speech of those who drift upon the winds of chance. Rather say, if it is worthy of my life, then I shall bend the world until it becomes so. For the man of legacy does not wait for fate to favor him. He demands of himself such consistency, such boldness, such devotion, that fate itself must take notice. And if you fall, as surely at times you shall, do not let the fall become your identity. Rise. Let even your stumblings become part of your legend. Let the wounds you carry speak not of weakness but of struggle. For who respects the man who never lost? It is the man who lost and rose again who commands reverence. You must think beyond the day, beyond the week. Think in decades. Think in echoes. When the gold has faded, when the noise has died, what shall remain? Only your story, only your example, only your name, spoken by those whose lives you touched, be they many or few. Thus I say, take no comfort in temporary ease. Choose the harder road if it leads to a greater ending. Let others chase quick gain and easy rest. You must chase the legacy. And what is legacy? It is not marble statues nor names upon buildings. It is the unseen trail you leave in the minds and hearts of others. It is the voice that says long after you are gone, this is what it means to keep going. It is the power of example. It is the testimony of perseverance. It is the inheritance of character. Ask yourself now, not what is most convenient, but what is most honorable. What is most worthy of your name, of your life? For your story is being written even now. Do not let it end in almost. Let it be said, he endured. She did not break. They fought until it worked. Let that be the sentence that echoes across the years. Let that be the phrase they remember. Let that be the tale you yourself recount when, seated beneath the tree of your own labor, you look back and say, I did not waver. I did not fall away. I stood until the storm passed, and the victory was mine. This is the legacy mindset. It begins not in grand moments but in quiet resolve. It lives in your next choice, in your next hour of doubt. Choose well, and the years shall honor you. For in the end, it is not fate that writes your legacy. It is you. Remember, every overnight success you admire fought a war you never saw. They didn't have magic, they had grit. When you're inches away from a breakthrough, the universe tests you. It whispers, prove you want it. This is where most fold. Don't let that be you. Forcing yourself to keep going isn't about willpower. It's about rewiring how you see struggle. Obstacles aren't roadblocks, they're the path. The next time you want to quit, hear this. The version of you on the other side of this challenge is waiting. All you have to do is show up one more time.